Welcome to another IPL Power List. I'm Jarrod Kimber. Like, subscribe, put comments in, tell me how handsome I am, all the normal things that you do when a power list is coming around. As usual, this is not a points table, although at this time of the year, I suppose it kind of is, even if it isn't, right? But the idea is to look beyond just the points table, have a look at the schedules, have a look at form, and have a look at how good teams are traveling into the finals, or I suppose out of the finals. Remember, I do not hate your favorite team. I do, though, hate your mum's favorite team. So if you have the same favorite team as your mum, I'd like to apologize. I don't know why, but you guys keep putting absolutely strange comments in every time I do one of these power lists, and maybe because I'm so accurate. There is no point you arguing this power list because, as usual, it is 100% correct. Sorry about that. So instead, why don't you just comment with the name of a band that you would love to serenade me with as you were telling me how great this list is. Anyway, on with the show. I found this confusing because Shubman Gill has been fantastic and David Miller as well. And the player I'm about to mention is in some ways actually down on form. But Rashid Khan has 95 runs from 39 balls. Yes, most of those was from one knock, but what a knock, even if it was in a losing game. But he's also taking a wicket every 12 balls. Teams have decided to attack him again after years of defending, and straight away he's taken almost 2 wickets a game. I mean, this is already the most dismissals he has ever taken in an IPL season, and he has a bunch of games left. His economy is just above 8, and he's never been north of 7 before, so this is really high for him. But he's used all those runs to buy extra wickets. This is actually unfair, but I would say there's no players who've been completely horrible for them. However, Yash Dayal is a bowler who has played 3 games and went for 95 runs in only 6. Last year, he played 9 matches and took 11 wickets. He was still expensive in that season, but only half a run to the bad on True Economy. This year, he's given up 7 runs more than he should per over, according to True Economy. I didn't know that number could go that high. But he's a full-time bowler and he's played 3 games and he's only been given 6 overs. One win here could probably get them a second chance playoff, but CSK and Mumbai are so close that they will want 2 wins at home to confirm it. But they are going up against 2 teams with 9 wins between them. So there is plenty of chance for them to still get both of those wins. Well, it is probably Rahane. I mean, I could give it to Jadeja or maybe even Dubé, but I will not. Because Rahane is making it rain in a hilarious manner. And if nothing else, I love what that makes of all those people who told me he was never any good. See, the thing is, he was in bad form, and it was a mighty long chunk of bad form as well. But perhaps what had to happen with Rahane is he had to hit rock bottom, and he kind of had in T20 cricket and also in red ball cricket. His form in Test had basically been thrown out of a plane with, handcuffs on. But Rahane's basic talent and skills are still high. And even though it's not quite true, I like to think that he has slogged his way back into a test squad as well, because that will annoy even more people. Theekshana is pretty cold right now. I could see times where he might struggle with taking wickets or slowing down the runs because of the way he bowls. But for both to happen at the same time for an entire season is a problem. I think everyone has just been wondering why Mitchell Santner hasn't come in to replace him. And at this point, it almost is too late. However, Santner is such a pro that it's not that hard. I don't think we've ever seen such an obvious replacement sit out for this long. That shows you how good Theekshana is. And he really is that good. But this year, he's also been that bad. If you were playing for a guaranteed second chance, would you order up the Delhi Capitals? Yeah, you probably would, right? So here they are, in their hands, or on their plates. I haven't really followed this one through. Well, they made it all more clear-cut by collapsing to KKR. They just need to win this last game now. And thankfully, that is up against Delhi, and you couldn't ask for a better team to be ordered up for you. They're just right there on the plate. Although, all things considered, they probably shouldn't have collapsed at the start of that KKR game. Sky has, dramatic pause, almost 500 runs at close enough to 2 runs a ball. If you look at this lineup, there are a few guys with electric batting ears around him. But it would be unfair to even mention their numbers compared to what Sky has done. Also, I love the fact that this comes after all of those dies. This sort of stuff happens all the time in T20 and ODI cricket, and people overreact to a couple of failures coming together. He has been incredibly regressive and very mean. Ooh, there's a few big names here when it comes to cold. And no, that is not a joke to mention Arjun Tendulkar's economy. I actually think he's done well, all things considered. But Jofra Archer was fighting his body, and it just didn't come out well. Jason Behrendorff was a steal from RCB, so Mumbai can't actually get a refund, now he's struggling. However, he is taking wickets. Rohit Sharma is averaging 18 and striking at 128. And the thing is this a bad year for him? When was the last time he had a really good IPL season with a bat? 2016? net run rate and a washout points mean they are way off CSK. So they would have to win both and hope CSK or Titan loses both. Do they have a chance? I mean, probably not really. But one win is enough to play in the finals. LSG's having a pretty good year, so there are a few to choose from. If Myers had bowled an over or two more, I might have gone with him. And Krunal Pandya had found his bowling again, but his batting hasn't been that great. But it has to be Nicholas Pooran, who has scored almost 300 runs while striking at 173. Incredible to think that he has almost 600 runs in the IPL while striking at over 150 since everyone said he was finished in 2021. Oh, Deepak Hooda. You will remember, and if not, I'm going to remind you right now, I thought last year he went for too much money in the auction. And that was because I don't think he can bowl. And it was certainly right there. He has 5 overs over the last 2 seasons. But he made 451 runs last year. This year he is averaging 7 with the bat. He would have to play for 6 more seasons or maybe 60 more seasons at this rate to make 450 runs. But if there is any hope for him at all, it's what I just mentioned about Pooran, who a couple of years ago had a similar like season. Sometimes in T20 cricket, you have a 10 or 15 game span where you just don't make any runs. From the last couple of games, they really need something here. They're playing a team on top of them and another one at the bottom. I think they need both wins coming off. But their washout point could come in handy here. Despite how their recent form is going, there are actually plenty of good candidates here. Chahal has had another incredible year and certainly deserves a mention. Consider it done. Hetmeyer and Sampson have gone pretty good as well, but it would be hard to not give this meaningless title to Jaswal, who currently has 575 runs, averaging almost 50 and striking at over 160. It is really a remarkable season for someone this young, who in the last 2 years basically averaged around this much combined. On the other side of that, Devdutt Padikkal is certainly in the conversation for the coldest player, but in truth he's been a bit more meh than cold. But Jason Holder has completely fallen off the map. Sadly for him, in the games he actually got to play, he batted 3 times, so he had no chance of really being helpful with his second skill. With the bowling though, his economy is almost 10 runs and over, and that isn't uncommon for him, but usually he makes up for it by taking a comedy amount of wickets at the death. In the last 3 years, he has the 3rd best true wickets mark in the league. This year, he has 4 wickets in 8 games. That's the opposite of what I just said. They have 1 game left, and getting bowled out for 59 in a must-win match means that they are probably, gone. But, had they won against RCB, they could have been at least sitting on points from 7 wins and given themselves a shot. I almost think it's better if they now lose this last game as it comes up, because at least this shows any faith that anyone had in them was completely misplaced. I jest, because even up until the point they were bowled out for 59, I still thought they were a better team than this. Maybe I'm wrong. If Sam Curran was bowling even at a normal level, this would be him. And that is because his batting has been fantastic and his bowling has been, fantastically bad. Sikandar Raza could also be mentioned here. Again, one side of his game is held up and the other side hasn't. I'll give this to Prabha Samaran Singh for averaging 30 and striking over 150. Although if Shikhar Dhawan had played maybe 1 or 2 more games, it could be him. I'm not as certain on this one. And even that goes for even when I was cold. The player that it probably goes to is Matthew Short. As someone who's watched a lot of Big Bash over the year, he has continued to improve his cricket. But I still thought it was a big reach for him playing in this IPL. He just hasn't played that much out of Australia ever, so to throw him into the biggest league in the world just was a stretch. He has only played 6 games, but his batting has been fairly blah. And he's had plenty of starts too. Statistically, he's actually regressed to the player he used to be 3 or 4 years ago, a barely used bowler who isn't that special with the bat. I think if you're getting a player like him in, you actually need to make sure he's played in some leagues before he turns up to the IPL. They need 2 wins to potentially squeeze in, and they have 2 home games coming up. One against the team who is now playing, not to finish last, and another trying to salvage a year that has fallen off the rails. The Royals game could be interesting when it comes to points, but the Kings' main problem is that their net run rate is in the toilet. I almost gave this to Mohammad Siraj, and he is quite obviously running hot at the moment. But Faf du Plessis, he is almost playing the role of 2 anchors in one. And while he is at that level of production, he's also scoring at a strike rate of 154. But it's also very unfair on Glenn Maxwell, who has a 180 strike rate while sitting on a pretty good average. Unfortunately, they have quite a few stars doing their job and also someone else's job. Harshal Patel is going at 10 runs and over, and Dinesh Karthik is averaging 12. These are both pretty poor years. But I think the player I'm most worried about is Hasaranga. His batting has not translated to the IPL at all. Last year he averaged 16 with the ball while going at 7.5 runs and over. This year he's averaging 28, which is okay, But it's also meaning it's only translating to 1 wicket a game, and he's doing that at 1.5 runs and over worse than he was last year. If he had been adding something with the bat, that would soften this blow. But being that he isn't, that's one expensive spinner who is getting hit a lot right now. They obviously have to win their last 2 games, so playing the Sunrisers, even away from home, is still quite handy. But the problem is, after that, they still have a Titans team who may have to win to get a top 2 position. Their best chance is beating the Sunrisers and then hoping that the Gujarat don't have to win that last game. But even then, they were half a point behind Lucknow because of that washout. That may end up mattering a lot. It has to be Rinku Singh, right? First full year in the IPL, and he's been even better than his cameo last season. To average around 50 for most of the year and also strike at nearly 150 is some effort. Especially when teams already had an idea about him, and early on he became the guy that everyone was looking at. I am fascinated to see how this all plays out next year. I was actually writing this while Sunil Narine was tearing down CSK, so I find it hard to completely throw him under the bus. But this is the first year he's going to end up with an economy over 8, most probably, and more importantly, he doesn't bat at all anymore. However, there is also Shardul Thakur, who is going at a huge amount of runs per over, but his batting has actually been pretty good. Andre Russell's probably in a similar position as well. So I think the coldest player they have is Umesh Yadav. He has 1 wicket in 19 overs and is going at 10s for his economy as well. I think him, Shardul and Dre Ross all going for masses of runs means that perhaps it's a lot to do with conditions. However, Umesh's skill is still taking wickets, and currently his bowling average is 169. I mean, this is now just a pretty much pointless game. They're not going to make the finals, and they also can't finish last. They've survived the Titanic, but they happen to be on a boat that's going in the opposite direction of everyone who's about to get saved. It's just, I'm mentioning it, and it's been mentioned, and let us get on with our lives. It is not actually that easy to find anyone having a good season for Sunrisers at the moment. But Mayank Makundi's numbers are pretty good, even if he's had a bit of a slip of late. He has 12 wickets with an econ of 7.8, and I think he's a better bowler than most people give him credit for. I suppose when looking for someone struggling, Harry Brook is the captain of the Cold Club. He made 100 runs in an innings and 63 in his other 8 knocks. His strike rate is 121. That said, it is worth mentioning that Tripathi has been slow for him. Markram really hasn't gone on that much. Agarwal has been awful. That almost sounds like I was trying to be alliterative there. In fact, let me just say that no Sunrisers batter has more than 200 runs yet. If they win all 3 of their games remaining, they still probably won't get anywhere near the finals, but it's worth a try. In order to do that, they would have to roll 2 almost certain finalists and away from home. I mean, it's not going to happen, but at least they're giving themselves a good chance of not coming last. For Delhi this year, Akshar Patel has tried to bat and bowl his team off the bottom. In fact, if they had like another version of him, they probably would be in finals contention. Outside of Phil Salt's cameos, he's probably their best bat. He also has 10 wickets and is averaging 28 with an economy of 6.8. I mean, that is pretty good. At worst, he's probably their second best batter and their second best bowler. When it comes to cold, I wasn't really sure who to go in. I mean, you could put almost the entire lineup in some ways. I did think about Mitchell Marsh because he really hasn't batted very well, but his bowling has been surprisingly good. He just hasn't made many runs. Nokia has been average, but not as terrible as I thought he had when I looked deeper into his record. But Mukesh Kumar has really struggled. He's going for runs and taking no wickets at all. Of course, if you're being really unfair, you could throw Warner in here too, but he has picked up his rate after a turgid start. Still, of course, not a strike rate that he would be happy with. They are playing one team who's desperate to make the finals and another who's trying to cement a second chance. Delhi have to win at least one of these to get off the bottom, and maybe even both to be sure. It's not ideal.